The crashed pod in the junkyard. It was just another hot day in the scrapyard. Tom wiped sweat from his forehead and tossed another rusted engine onto the growing pile. He had worked this junkyard for 15 years, alone. No wife, no family. Just broken machines and silence. People in the nearby town called him Scrap Tom. He didn't mind, machines didn't lie. Machines didn't abandon you. That's why he was surprised when he heard a strange high-pitched humming noise, soft, like music, but coming from the far back of the yard where no one ever went. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't a machine. Tom grabbed his tool belt and walked toward the sound. His boots crunched over metal shards and broken glass. Behind the last row of junked satellites, he stopped. There it was, a small silver pod, no bigger than a car, half buried in a pile of wires and scrap. Its surface was smooth but cracked. Smoke rose from its edges. A faint green glow blinked on and off. "What in the world?" Tom whispered. He tapped the side of the pod with his wrench. Click. Hiss. The pod opened. Inside were two tiny figures, no more than 5 years old in human size. One boy, one girl. Pale blue skin, big golden eyes. Thin clothes torn and dirty, they looked alien. Tom stepped back, heart pounding, but the children didn't move. They were barely breathing. "Oh no." "You're hurt," he said, dropping to his knees. The girl opened her eyes slowly and whispered, "Light, please." Tom didn't understand, but he pulled out his flashlight and shined it toward them. Both children turned their faces toward the light like flowers. Their breathing got stronger. "Okay. Okay. You need help." He lifted them, one in each arm, and carried them to his repair shed. It was the only place with power. He laid them down on a blanket and brought a heater closer. They didn't speak much. They just stared at him. Quiet. Watching. "Where are you from?" he asked gently. No answer. He tried calling the local authorities, but they laughed at him. "Aliens? In your junkyard? Tom, you need sleep." Then they hung up. Tom looked at the twins. They weren't a joke. They were real, and someone had to take care of them. He cleaned them up, fed them soup, though they barely touched it, and gave them names, Nova and Z. The girl became Nova, the boy, Z. Days passed. Nova and Z followed Tom everywhere. They didn't talk, but sometimes hummed, soft tunes that made Tom feel odd, like he could see stars, feel heatless fire, and hear whispers in a strange language. One night Tom woke up suddenly. His room was dark, but the twins stood at the foot of his bed. Their golden eyes glowed. Tom sat up, alarmed. "What's wrong?" Nova raised her hand and the lamp beside the bed flickered on by itself. Z spoke slowly. "You are safe?" Tom nodded slowly. "I am now. Are you?" Nova smiled a little. "We are. Thanks to you." Then they both fell asleep on the floor beside his bed. The next morning, Tom had questions, so many questions. "Where are you from?" he asked while serving toast. "We don't remember," Nova said. "Bad people," Z added. "They wanted us dead." Tom's stomach tightened. "Why?" "We're not supposed to live," Nova said quietly. Tom didn't ask more. He just nodded. "You're safe here." "No, one's going to hurt you." The twins looked at each other and then at Tom. Nova asked, "You keep us?" Tom paused. He had no children, no family, no plan. But in that moment, looking at their hopeful eyes, he knew the answer. "Yes," he said. "You're mine now." That night, as Tom locked the junkyard gates, he noticed something strange. The broken satellite dish on the far end was glowing slightly. He checked it. The dish was pointing at the sky, locked onto a single faraway star. The very same star the twins kept drawing with chalk on his garage floor. Tom felt a chill. He turned to look back at the shed where the twins slept. For the first time in years, he felt something he thought he had lost forever. Purpose. But deep in the black of space, far beyond Earth, a signal was flashing. The lost heirs had been found, and someone was coming. Tom knew he couldn't keep the twins hidden forever. Small town, small eyes, big gossip. And it didn't help that Nova and Z didn't act like normal children. They didn't cry. They didn't laugh. They just watched. Quietly, silently, like they were waiting for something. He tried to make them feel normal, gave them soft beds, clean clothes, even built a swing from old junk chains. But Nova preferred lying under the sun, humming her strange melody while Z would sit and stare at power lines like they whispered to him. After 2 weeks, Tom decided to take them into town. Just for some fresh air, he muttered, mostly to himself. Maybe get you some real food. He packed them into his old hover truck and drove to the marketplace. As soon as they stepped out, heads turned. Whispers started. "Who's that with Scrap Tom? Is that paint on their skin?" "No, those are aliens. I saw it on the internet." He should report them. Could be dangerous. Tom kept his head down, leading Nova and Z to the local diner. He ordered 3 plates of fries and 2 glasses of orange fizz. The kids poked at the food but didn't eat much. Instead, they watched everyone, especially the children. One little human boy approached the table and smiled at Nova. "Wanna play?" Nova smiled back, just a little. But before she could answer, the boy's mother rushed over, grabbed him, and glared at Tom. "Keep those things away from my son." Tom stood up. "They're just kids." "They're not our kind," the woman spat. "You don't know what diseases they carry." Tom clenched his fists. "They're cleaner than half the people here." The diner owner walked over and asked Tom to leave, kindly but firm. Back outside, Tom sat on the edge of the truck, sighing hard. Nova sat beside him, her golden eyes dull. "We don't belong here," she said softly. Z nodded. "They hate us." Tom looked at them both. His heart was heavy, but his voice was calm. "That's not your fault. That's theirs. You're not the problem. They are." The twins stared at him, confused. Tom continued. "People fear what they don't understand, but I don't care what they think. You're with me now." That night, things got worse. A black government car parked outside Tom's scrapyard. 2 men in gray suits stepped out. Tall, cold eyes. They introduced themselves as agents from the Interstellar Species Control Department. "We received a report that you are harboring illegal extraterrestrial juveniles." Tom didn't invite them in. "They're not illegal. They're children, and they were dying." One of the agents smirked. "According to Earth galactic law, unregistered alien minors must be taken to sector holding for examination and possible relocation." "Relocation?" Tom asked. The second agent spoke flatly. "If they are found to have no origin records or guardian claim, they may be recycled." Tom's stomach dropped. "You mean destroyed?" The first agent smiled. "That's a harsh word. We prefer neutralized." Tom slammed the door. He stood in the middle of his workshop, breathing hard. Nova and Z stood in the shadows, quiet, listening. "We can't stay here," Tom said finally. "We need a plan." The next day, he cleared a hidden corner deep inside the scrapyard. He built a shelter underground using old cargo containers, added heaters, lights, and even a small screen for the kids to learn from. Every night they hid there. Nova started drawing strange star patterns in chalk on the floor. Z stared at the drawings for hours, then began adding lines, like some kind of map. Tom didn't understand it, but he felt something big was coming. Tom knew he couldn't keep the twins hidden forever. Small town, small eyes, big gossip. And it didn't help that Nova and Z didn't act like normal children. They didn't cry. They didn't laugh. They just watched, quietly, silently, like they were waiting for something. He tried to make them feel normal, gave them soft beds, clean clothes, even built a swing from old junk chains. But Nova preferred lying under the sun, humming her strange melody while Z would sit and stare at power lines like they whispered to him. After 2 weeks, Tom decided to take them into town. Just for some fresh air, he muttered, mostly to himself. Maybe get you some real food. He packed them into his old hover truck and drove to the marketplace. As soon as they stepped out, heads turned. Whispers started. Who's that with scrapped Tom? Is that paint on their skin? No, those are aliens. I saw it on the internet. He should report them, could be dangerous. Tom kept his head down, leading Nova and Z to the local diner. He ordered 3 plates of fries and 2 glasses of orange fizz. The kids poked at the food but didn't eat much. Instead, they watched everyone, especially the children. One little human boy approached the table and smiled at Nova. Wanna play? Nova smiled back just a little, but before she could answer, the boy's mother rushed over, grabbed him, and glared at Tom. Keep those things away from my son. Tom stood up. They're just kids. They're not our kind, the woman spat. You don't know what diseases they carry. Tom clenched his fists. They're cleaner than half the people here. The diner owner walked over and asked Tom to leave, kindly but firm. Back outside, Tom sat on the edge of the truck, sighing hard. Nova sat beside him, her golden eyes dull. We don't belong here, she said softly. Z nodded. They hate us. Tom looked at them both. His heart was heavy, but his voice was calm. That's not your fault. That's theirs. You're not the problem. They are. The twins stared at him, confused. Tom continued. People fear what they don't understand. But I don't care what they think. You're with me now. That night, things got worse. A black government car parked outside Tom's scrapyard. 2 men in gray suits stepped out. Tall, cold eyes. They introduced themselves as agents from the Interstellar Species Control Department. We received a report that you are harboring illegal extraterrestrial juveniles. Tom didn't invite them in. They're not illegal. They're children. And they were dying. One of the agents smirked. According to Earth galactic law, unregistered alien minors must be taken to sector holding for examination and possible relocation. Relocation? Tom asked. The second agent spoke flatly. If they are found to have no origin records or guardian claim, they may be recycled. Tom's stomach dropped. You mean destroyed? The first agent smiled. That's a harsh word. We prefer neutralized. Tom slammed the door. He stood in the middle of his workshop, breathing hard. Nova and Z stood in the shadows, quiet, listening. We can't stay here, Tom said finally. We need a plan. The next day, he cleared a hidden corner deep inside the scrapyard. He built a shelter underground using old cargo containers, added heaters, lights, and even a small screen for the kids to learn from. Every night, they hid. There. Nova started drawing strange star patterns in chalk on the floor. Z stared at the drawings for hours, then began adding lines like some kind of map. Tom didn't understand it, but he felt something big was coming. Tom sat in the corner of his underground shelter, oil stains on his sleeves, watching the twins draw again. The chalk marks on the metal floor had become larger, more detailed. Lines formed stars, symbols, spirals, and strange letters. Nova drew them with her eyes closed, as if remembering a dream. Z added tiny dots and arrows, moving with quiet focus. Tom had asked what they were doing, but the answer was always the same. We're remembering. At first, he thought they were just playing, but then things started to happen. One morning, Tom tried to fix the solar heater. He had rewired it 3 times, and it still wouldn't power on. Frustrated, he walked away. Z followed, knelt by the heater, and touched one of the wires. In seconds, it lit up, fully functional. You did that? Tom asked, staring. Z only said, It listened to me. Another night, when Tom tripped in the dark and scraped his arm, Nova placed her hand over the wound. A warm glow passed between them. The cut healed before his eyes. No scar, no pain. Tom stepped back, stunned. That's not normal. Nova looked up, tired. We're not normal. He didn't argue. He couldn't. That same week, the town began to talk again. Rumors spread that Tom was hiding dangerous alien weapons. Someone claimed they saw Z levitate metal parts in the air. Another swore Nova spoke in a voice that shook the walls. Tom kept the twins hidden, but their powers were growing, and so were their memories. One evening, the wind outside the junkyard howled louder than usual. Rain fell in sheets. Inside, Tom brought out an old star chart from a military drone's wreck. He laid it in front of them. Tell me what you see. Z pointed at a bright star near the edge. That's home. Our real home. Not the pod. Not Earth. Nova whispered. Our parents ruled from there. They were kind, wise. People loved them. Tom leaned forward. What happened? Nova's golden eyes flickered. There was a war, a rebellion. A close friend of our parents turned against them. He wanted the throne, but he couldn't kill us, not openly. So he made it look like an accident. Z added, he sent us away in that pod. Thought Earth was forgotten, that we'd disappear. Tom sat back slowly. It was hard to believe, but deep inside it all made a strange kind of sense. Do you know his name? Tom asked. Nova looked at him, and for the first time, her voice was full of fire. His name is Admiral Core. The name meant nothing to Tom, but the way she said, it made his skin crawl. They'll come again, won't they? He asked. Z nodded. Yes, if they know we're alive, they'll come to finish what they started. Tom felt the weight of it all crash down. He wasn't just hiding orphans, he was protecting royalty. And not just any royalty. Royalty powerful enough to be feared across galaxies. He stood up and pulled open an old locker filled with tools. Then we need to be ready. Over the next days, Tom began turning the junkyard into something else. He reinforced the gate, buried motion sensors under the scrap piles, converted old mining bots into defense drones. The twins helped quietly, never tired, never slow. One night, Nova walked to him holding a small, glowing object. I found this in the pod wreck, she said. It's a memory core. Tom turned it over in his hand. What's on it? Nova's voice was heavy. Our family. Their final message. They activated the core together. A small blue light rose and formed an image. A tall alien woman with golden robes and long flowing hair. Her voice came out shaky, scared. My children, if this reaches you, we are gone. Betrayed. Trust no one. Hide your blood. Your light is not a gift. It is a target. But if kindness finds you, survive. And when the stars call, return home. The image flickered and faded. Tom sat in silence for a long time. Nova placed her hand on his. You are the kindness, Tom. You found us. Tom's voice cracked. I didn't find you. You saved me. Z nodded. Now we save each other. That night the wind outside grew quiet. Too quiet. Tom stood at the junkyard's edge, looking at the sky. 3 faint red lights blinked in the clouds, then vanished. He knew what that meant. They weren't alone anymore. Tom couldn't sleep that night. The 3 blinking red lights in the clouds haunted his thoughts. They didn't look like drones. They moved too slowly, like they were watching, like they were hunting. At sunrise, the sky over the junkyard was clear. The clouds had vanished, but Tom's instinct screamed, they are already here. He didn't tell Nova and Z, not yet. They were finally laughing again, drawing, learning to read Earth books. He didn't want to take that peace away, but deep down he knew their peace was over. Later that afternoon, the wind shifted. Tom was fixing an old comm tower when his tools began shaking. He looked up. The sky above the junkyard shimmered, and then something uncloaked. A dark, smooth alien ship floated just above the trees. It was silent. No engines, no lights. But its presence was like a shadow falling over the earth. Tom dropped his tools. No, not yet. A beam of light shot from the ship, scanning the yard. Every broken engine, every pile of junk, every bolt. It scanned through them all. Tom ran to the shelter. Nova. Z, time to go. They looked up at him, confused. What's wrong? Nova asked. They found us. Before they could move, the junkyard gate exploded. 3 tall figures walked in, covered in black armor, faces hidden behind smooth helmets. Their weapons glowed with blue energy. They moved fast, stepping over piles of metal like they weighed nothing. Tom grabbed the twins' hands and pulled them toward the emergency tunnel he had dug days ago, but the hunters were already inside the yard. A deep robotic voice echoed from one of them. Royal energy signatures detected. Surrender the heirs. Z trembled beside Tom. That's them. Core's shadows. Tom turned to face the hunters. You're not taking them. The lead hunter tilted his head. You are not registered to this bloodline. Step aside, human. Tom held a plasma cutter in one hand. Make me. The hunter raised his weapon and fired. The beam shot straight toward Tom but never reached him. Nova stepped forward, her eyes glowing golden. She lifted her hand. The beam stopped in midair, frozen like glass. Then she crushed it with her mind. The light shattered like crystal dust. Tom stood frozen. So did the hunters. Nova's voice echoed with something ancient. You will not harm him. Z raised his hand too. The metal around the hunters began to rise, junk parts floating, spinning like a storm. The ground shook. The lead hunter's helmet cracked. A single red eye glowed behind it. You've awakened, but it's too late. He pressed a signal device on his wrist. Above them, the alien ship powered up, energy lines glowing along its hull. Nova turned to Tom. You have to leave. Now. Tom shook his head. No, I'm not leaving you. We can hold them, Z said, but not for long. No, Tom said firmly. We stay together. We fight together. Nova touched his chest. You have already done more than any soldier of our people ever did. But if you stay, they will use you. Against us. The wind screamed. The sky burned. The ship began to lower. Tom clenched his fists. I'm not running. If they want you, they'll have to go through me. Suddenly, a deep voice boomed across the sky. Stand down, all of you. Everyone froze. Another ship appeared through the clouds, this one gold and silver, shining like a second sun. Its design was elegant, ancient. It hovered beside the black hunter ship. The hunters backed away slowly, uncertain. From the golden ship, a figure descended, tall, robed in glowing silk. Her face was marked with old royal tattoos. She looked directly at the twins and knelt. All hail the lost heirs, she said. The throne is waiting. Nova and Z stepped forward, stunned. The hunters quickly vanished in a flash of blue light. Their mission failed. Tom stood speechless. Who are you? He asked the robed woman. I am High Advisor Kalari, she said calmly. I served their mother. I searched for them across 100 worlds. And now? They are found. Tom didn't know what to say. The sky had returned to calm. The shadows were gone. Nova turned to him, tears in her eyes. They didn't believe we'd survive. But you did, Z added softly. You protected our light when no one else would. Kalari nodded at Tom. By ancient law, the one who protects royal blood in exile earns the right of house guardian. Tom blinked. What does that mean? Nova smiled through her tears. It means, she said, you're family now. Tom never thought he'd stand beside royalty. Yet there he was, covered in dust, boots, half-melted from alien energy blasts, standing on his own junkyard soil, while a royal advisor bowed to him. The golden ship shimmered above them, its light soft and warm, unlike the black hunter ship that had vanished into the clouds. Inside the ship, Nova and Z sat quietly in royal seats made of light and crystal. Their eyes seemed different now. Older, wiser, as if memories were returning with every passing minute. Tom sat near the wall, still unsure if all this was real. He felt out of place among glowing walls and silent royal guards, but when Z looked back and smiled, he knew. This was still his family. High Advisor Kalari explained everything. There was a secret coup on their homeworld, Lysithar Prime. The rebels claimed peace but assassinated the true king and queen. Admiral Kor seized control. He claimed the twins died in the crash. Now knowing they're alive, he'll send more than shadows. He will send armies. Tom asked, "Can't you protect them?" Kalari hesitated. Not alone. The Galactic Union must be involved now. Earth is under their law. Just then, the golden ship's console lit up. A transmission played in midair. A tall alien in silver uniform, with a voice like cold metal. "This is Ambassador Corrin speaking on behalf of the Galactic Union. We have received a false claim regarding 2 minors. These children are unregistered, dangerous. Return them, or Earth will face sanctions." Z whispered, "That's him." Kor's voice, but with a new name. Kalari narrowed her eyes. "He's hiding behind diplomacy now. Clever." The screen flickered off. Tom stood up. "Let me talk to someone. Someone on Earth." Kalari nodded. "We've already arranged it. You'll speak with Earth's Intergalactic Relations Office." The next day, Tom stood before Earth's Council, via hologram link. Gray-suited officials looked at him from a long table, cold, curious, and tired. "You claim these aliens are royal heirs?" one man asked. "They are," Tom said, calm but firm. "They have proof, memory cores, star maps, and they're just children." Another woman asked, "And who are you?" "Just a mechanic," Tom replied. "But I didn't need a crown to know they were worth saving." The council whispered to each other. Then came the final blow. A man at the end of the table stood. His face seemed oddly familiar, his voice too polished. "I am Ambassador Corrin. I represent Lysithar's current government. These children are clones, dangerous copies made by rebels. They must be returned." Nova, watching from behind the screen, gasped. Tom pointed. "That's him. That's the man who tried to have them killed." The council turned to Corrin. He smiled politely. "This human is confused. We thank him for his emotional concern." Z whispered something in a language Tom didn't understand, but it shook the air around him. Suddenly the transmission glitched. Z stepped forward, his eyes glowing. "You lie with your mouth, but your blood sings the truth." Everyone stared. Then Nova reached forward and touched the console. A recording played. The final moments of their parents. Their mother's voice, her warning. "If Kor lives, the throne is not safe. He wears silver, but drips in betrayal." The council froze. Corrin's smile faded. His screen blinked off. Back at the junkyard, things moved fast. News spread. The Galactic Union demanded an investigation. Earth's people began to rally. Social feeds exploded with hashtags, "Protect the Twins." Earth adopted royalty. Tom, the junkyard king Tom, hated the attention, but he stood beside Nova and Z during their first official appearance on Earth, broadcast to millions. "We were thrown away," Nova said into the cameras, her voice soft but strong. "But one man picked us up, not because we were special, but because we were scared." Z added, "He didn't know who we were. He didn't care. He just helped." Tom didn't speak much, just stood behind them, proud. But behind the celebration, something darker moved. That night, while Tom returned to his workshop, he found the door open. Inside, everything was destroyed. His tools, his drones, his memories. On the wall, words burned in alien script. "You chose wrong." Tom stepped back. His hand shook. The message was clear. Even with the truth revealed, even with the galaxy watching, someone still wanted the twins dead. Later, Nova sat with him under the stars. "I'm sorry," she said. Tom shook his head. "No, don't ever say that. But your life is ruined. Because of us." Tom chuckled. "My life started when I found you." She smiled, then grew quiet. "There's something else," she said. "Something we haven't told you." Tom turned to her as he joined them. "We're not just heirs, we're something more, something older." Nova nodded. "There's power inside us, power the throne feared. That's why we were hidden even before the rebellion." Tom frowned. "What kind of power?" Nova looked up at the sky, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. The kind that can end war or start new ones. The stars above Earth looked peaceful that night, but Tom knew better. Peace was a thin blanket, and something darker moved just under it. The message burned into his wall still haunted him. "You chose wrong." And now, with Nova and Z, speaking of hidden power, Tom wondered if the galaxy feared them for a reason. The next morning, Kalari summoned them all aboard the royal ship. Her tone was different, serious. She didn't bow or smile. She simply said, "It's time." "Time for what?" Tom asked. Kalari looked at the twins. "For them to remember who they truly are." The ship rose into the sky. It didn't head toward space. Instead, it dropped beneath the clouds, into the Earth's mantle. The hull shimmered as it passed through the crust like mist. Tom gripped his seat, staring as oceans of glowing stone and magma passed by. And then, they stopped. Below, the surface was a buried temple, ancient, massive, and pulsing with alien energy. It had been hidden for centuries, maybe more. Not Earth's design, something older, something royal. "This is the Hall of Seeds," Kalari said. "A sacred chamber, planted here before Earth had names. Your ancestors prepared it as a last resort, in case the heirs were ever truly lost." Nova and Z stood at the center. Strange symbols on the ground glowed beneath their feet. A voice echoed. Not spoken, not from a mouth, but through the air itself. "Blood of the first flame, do you return?" Nova answered without fear. "We return. Do you seek truth or power?" Z answered. "Truth. Always." A sudden beam of golden light wrapped around them. Their bodies lifted gently into the air. Their eyes turned brighter than fire. Tom stepped forward, worried. "What's happening to them?" Kalari stopped him. "They are being measured, not by machines, but by the stars themselves." Then the chamber changed. Visions appeared in the air, a galaxy in flames, a young queen, Nova's mother, giving birth on a starlit balcony, a hidden library of energy placed deep inside the twins' DNA. And finally, a warning. They will carry the flame. They will bend time. They will speak to worlds. But only if they choose to be more than kings. When the light faded, Nova and Z floated back down. Their faces were calm, but different. They remembered everything. Nova looked at Tom and smiled softly. "We were always meant to die young, unless someone kind enough helped us live long enough to remember." Z added, "You gave us more than life. You gave us the chance to choose." Kalari stepped forward and kneeled. "The throne awaits," she said. "Not because of blood, but because of what you are now." Tom asked, "What are they?" Nova looked at her hands. "Not just rulers," Z finished. "We're seeds." Kalari nodded. "Seeds of the flame. You were never meant to sit on a chair and wear gold. You were meant to awaken what your people had forgotten." Tom frowned. "And what's that?" Kalari looked at him. "That kindness is power, and that no empire survives without it." They returned to the surface. The news exploded across galaxies. The heirs of Lissithar were not only alive, but crowned beneath Earth, not in a palace, not with parades, but inside a planet that once knew nothing about stars, Nova and Z were now leaders, but not of one world. They were symbols, the children who survived a death sentence, the orphans who remembered kindness, the rulers who didn't claim thrones but were chosen by forgotten truths. On the day of their official crowning, Tom stood in the center of the same junkyard where it all began. Reporters, alien officials, and even Earth politicians gathered there. A small stage made of junk metal and glowing crystal was built. Nova and Z walked forward in simple robes, not royal, but warm and familiar. They didn't wear crowns. They wore bracelets made from earth soil and starstone, symbols of two worlds. Nova stepped up to the mic. "I was found in the dirt," she said. "I was hungry, weak, and alone, and a man gave me soup, a blanket, and asked nothing in return. He didn't know I had power. He didn't know I had a name. He only knew I was cold." Z followed. "He didn't see a weapon. He didn't see a royal. He saw a child." Nova looked at Tom. "And because of that, we will never forget what leadership really means." Z finished. "We will not rule above. We will walk among." The crowd went silent. Then they cheered. That night, after the celebration faded and stars took the sky again, Tom sat quietly on his porch. Nova sat beside him. She leaned her head on his shoulder. "You know," she whispered, "we could rebuild the throne room on any planet." Tom chuckled. "Let me guess. You want it next to a junkyard?" She smiled. "No, I want it to feel like home." Tom paused. "You already have one." And in the distance, the stars burned a little brighter. Years passed. Not many, but just enough. The junkyard still stood, though now it had fewer broken parts and more growing things. The old piles of scrap had been cleared to make space for greenhouses, classrooms, and a strange round building made from earth steel and alien crystal, half home, half temple. It was called the Flame Circle. Visitors came from distant planets just to see it, but most didn't come for the building. They came for Tom. He never wore a crown, never claimed a title. He still wore his old boots and stained jacket. He still fixed broken things with grease on his hands. But in every corner of the galaxy, people knew his name. Not as a king, but as the guardian of stars, the man who raised the twin rulers of Lissithar Prime. Tom never meant to be a legend. He only meant to keep two scared children warm. Even now, he remembered the night he first found them in that cracked silver pod, thin, silent, and nearly gone. He didn't see royalty. He saw kids who needed help, but what he gave them, quiet kindness, shelter, his last blanket, meant more than any crown ever could. That was why the galaxy remembered him. Nova and Z had grown fast, not just in age, but in strength and wisdom. Their powers continued to bloom, but so did their hearts. They chose not to rebuild their old empire. Instead, they created something new. The Union of Light. A place where rulers weren't chosen by blood but by action. They refused to rule from above. They traveled. They listened. They helped planets rebuild. They refused luxury, refused soldiers, and refused worship. They said, "If a human mechanic can raise hope from nothing, then we should do the same." One day, Tom was called to speak at the Grand Circle, the new central station for peaceful meetings between alien worlds. He didn't want to go. "I'm just a junk man," he said, scratching his head. Nova shook hers. "You're the reason we're alive. You gave us what the galaxy forgot. Compassion." Z added, "Now the galaxy needs to hear from you." Tom finally agreed. He stood in front of a million different eyes, human, alien, machine, and more. He took no notes, wore no medals. He only said, "I didn't save them because they were royal. I didn't even know. I saved them because they were alone, hungry, cold. I didn't need a law or a reason. I just needed to be human." Then he stepped down and went back home, and that made him a legend, not because of his words, but because he meant them. As time moved on, Earth changed too. It was no longer seen as the forgotten blue world on the edge of the galaxy. It became a symbol, a place where orphans became rulers, where kindness beat weapons, where a human heart rewrote the future. Statues were made of Nova and Z, but every statue had Tom's small figure standing behind them, hand on their shoulders. They were the stars, but he was their gravity. When Tom got older, he moved slower, spoke softer. But every morning Nova still brought him tea. Z still sat with him under the solar trees asking questions like he did when he was small. And every night thousands of stars sent messages, planets asking for advice, children writing letters, lost creatures asking, "Can I come to Earth, too?" And Tom always said, "If there's room in my yard, there's room in my heart." One evening the twins came to sit with him under the sky. Nova whispered, "We don't want to think of the day you're gone." Tom chuckled. "Then don't. I'll live forever in broken engines and chalk drawings." Z added, "We could use our power to stretch time." Tom shook his head gently. "Don't use power to fight nature. Use it to teach others how to live with it." They sat in silence. The stars sparkled like they were listening. Tom passed in his sleep one calm morning, no pain, no fear, just peace. The galaxy wept, but Nova and Z didn't mourn like others. They smiled, because they knew he hadn't left them. He had simply become something more. They built no tomb, no statue. Instead, they planted a tree in the center of the yard, tall, bright-leafed. Its roots touched earth and its tips reached toward the stars. Beneath it, a small plaque read, "He found us in silence, gave us love in a broken world. Now we grow because of him." Legends are not born in gold. They are born in small acts, quiet courage, shared blankets. Tom never needed a throne, because he built one in their hearts. And the galaxy would never forget the man who made orphans into rulers just by being human.